see, Makgeolli was the first like microbrewery we saw on Instagram.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's the comment I'm getting too much these days. Should we make our own noodle? Those two have different noodle blending. The most question I used to get at the beginning was, is this Makgeolli? They still call me crazy, but...
Brewing is so much fun.
He stopped at my brewery. Of course I have a brewery, I have to noodle. And he was urgently fetching my noodle to Paris. Anyway, we can taste our signatures. Because it already scheduled like a month ago, and then I just thought, okay, why don't you guys meet all together?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Great idea.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
We're so happy we were able to join.
Also, we can start with our signature line. Softer. So, juniper berries, raisins, pear juice. I'm very thirsty. I was having a crazy day.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, well, I really liked gin before I came to, Korea. I came back to Korea and started brewing. And I wanted to test something with the juniper berries. I really wanted. So, how it started and how it became our signature. So, Makgeolli that smells like gin. So, that's how they describe it. Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Bombay.
Wow.
This is really nice. I like that it's not too sweet. I mean,
because so often, with makgeollis, especially in Korea, I mean, they're always sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, we've noticed that Koreans really have a
sweet tooth.
sweet
Yeah.
tooth.
Exactly. And
So
then
this
that's
is so nice.
Yeah, and I think that's more like what they create as a fashion, because they are. This is sweeter version of my brews. But this is the sweetest. This one is even less sweet. And then what I hear a lot is, "Oh, I like it because it's not sweet."
Yeah.
But everyone says they like sweet. But it's a legend. And I think it's just the belief that they think. I mean, because there is certainly certainly people who don't like sweets, but it's a myth that is. I think.
I think some of there might be a few old-fashioned ones. They're very dry, but also they're quite dull.
Yeah.
They don't taste like too much.
Exactly.
You just get some astringent flavor, and that's it.
Two extremes, either extremely sweet or extremely dry. So, Korea is a very extreme culture. We have exposure to very hot summer and very cold winter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's extreme spicy, so we are extreme people. But there is always room for middle ground. And,
Absolutely.
And I also like that it doesn't feel too thick. It's really
Yeah, that's another point that I really, because I make Makgeolli, I make alcohol for, I call it connoisseur. So not for the beginners, not for the people who don't like, to drink and so on. And then for us, when you like to drink, we don't like to feel too full, right? Because then we cannot drink anymore. So even if it is higher in ABV, I always try to keep like medium bodied. And so I actually do, even after maturing, I do another filter.
Okay.
So I do triple filtering of all the little sediments or the remaining little pieces of nuruk and so on are filters. So I do triple filtering.
So this really does feel different than what I make in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't do that in your kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
True. How do you stabilize your flavor so you can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it?
that is very tricky, and I don't try to make a rocket science of exactly controlled flavor because, well, brewing is art of season also, and it all depends on the ingredients as well.
Yeah, sure.
So I try to keep. So I do the testing, measuring of ABV in the fermentation stage, also pH, and so on. But there are, differences. And then when it happens, I always transparently announce it to my clients.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So, for example, early summer, end of spring. Well, because that's the season where the yeasts go the most crazy and then they are the most active, so they create lots of alcohol.
Yeah.
And then the ABV of the essence, the wonju, goes very high. And when I dilute it and mature it, well, that means that they have eaten more glucose, meaning there are less remaining sugar.
Right.
Then the early summer brews tend to become very dry.
Right.
And then I announced that, well, this edition, this batch is drier, summer special dry.
Okay.
And for example, this year I had this brew of pangpung and apple, and I used different apple compared to last year. I had another supplier because I moved to Yangpyeong. And then the character of the apples in the south and in this area are completely different.
Really?
Yeah. And then I actually explained it in my YouTube. Also, this year's edition of Homage Jades has stronger, let's say, apple notes, for example, and it has like more cloudy nuance and so on and so on because I'm using different apple. And then I find it interesting. Well, if I am a big brewery, let's say a factory kind of brewery, then I have to completely control it, and that's why they put chemicals, right, to stabilize.
Exactly.
And since I'm not using any chemical, I'm not using any. I'm actually letting the fermentation happen with the nature and the season.
Yeah.
But then if I don't say anything, they're disappointed, of course.
Yeah,
Last time it was really sweet, this time it's really dry. And then if I explain it, then
once you explain it, then that's the special characteristic of this
Right.
this season.
Yes.
And then that makes what you're creating more special.
Yes, yeah.
And you can use it actively in your storytelling.
Exactly, yeah. So sometimes the batches are sour, more acid, and then there are people who like acid sours. And then, so if you like sour brews, if you like sour beer, for example, if you like acidity, well, this might be your last chance to rep it. I don't know. Well, it's a bit too commercial, but sometimes I do it this way because I really...
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good way.
Yeah.
That is also just the whole character of brewing makgeolli, I think. Or we figured out, it's so difficult to get the same product each time, but that's also just the beauty of it.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not supposed to be equal, like the same every time.
Exactly the same, and what's impossible. But of course, I try to keep the character in it, and for example, the texture or the aroma, combination has to be the same, but there are some like really subtle differences that's happening in every batch, and then I just let them know it.
Right.
No, that's good. Really good tactic.
And your videos, I enjoy your videos.
Yes.
But they're very serious.
Yeah. Well, that's the comment I'm getting too much these days. Yeah, because they're saying.
I like that. I like that. That's not a criticism. But,
some people.
I noticed.
Yeah, it's too serious and too difficult. They're saying, and but I don't want to make it funny because but I still have to.
But you have a quick version for the pamphlet of describing your product. You have a short description. And then for the videos, you can have a long description and all the pairings and talking to other people.
Yeah, well, that's exactly my intention, but not many people see both, right? Because they are, if I have more followers or if I have more, let's say, supporters, they would say both, but like one just ends up with this, and the other one only sees the video, and then it becomes too serious. But anyway, sorry, I will keep my style.
So can you tell us a bit about how you got into brewing? Because I think Julia said you spent some time in the U.S. or
no, in Belgium. In Europe.
In Belgium.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And in Southeast Asia. Well, shall we move to the second? But I was working as a management consultant in Belgium, and well, I was studying also in Belgium. So I spent my 20s and 30s basically abroad. And when you are abroad, and at that time, 20 years ago, in Belgium, it was quite even difficult to find the kimchi, for example. Now we can find everything everywhere, but. So I started cooking and brewing, making the things that I missed from Korea. I started making it myself, and makgeolli was one of those because it was like impossible to find the same makgeolli, non-pasteurized makgeolli in Europe. It's probably still the case, right?
Yes. It is.
Yeah, that's probably why you guys are thinking about doing and brewing yourself. So I was a home brewer. I studied as a home brewer. And then, so I was studying and working in Belgium for like 12 years. Then I was transferred to Hong Kong office. There it was easier to get supplies, right? Because I could fly to Korea like almost every 2 weeks. And then I started brewing. So I was actually smuggling nuruk each time. And then I moved to Singapore. Then we had our second home in Thailand. I went to this organic market. And well, since makgeolli brewing was my hobby, and I was like thinking about quitting my job, it was too stressful because I was doing lean management consulting, so I was like hiring people in a bank for like 14 years, and but this is not something that I can continue for a long time, and so I started studying art, contemporary art and culture, and I quit my job, and I was giving consulting to galleries and museums. So I was a management consultant. I was very much into art and culture. And then I had more free time. And then in Thailand, back to this organic market in Thailand, I was spending lots of time in our second home, and suddenly, like, I should start a brewery in Thailand. Because they have beautiful rice and like all different types of rice, and they also have this welcoming openness for Korean food, and Korean alcohol was getting accepted in Southeast Asia. And so I was, and then my home brewing hobby became more serious. So I started like recording and noting all my recipes. And I started looking at it a bit more in a technical and scientific way. So I studied about the yeast, nuruk, enzymes, and the rice, different types of rice, all different types of sub-ingredients. And in Thailand, they have like lots of, herbs and fruits, all special flavors. So it became more serious hobby. And then opening a brewery in Thailand apparently is even more difficult than in Korea. Some people were even saying, no offense for Thai viewers, but if you are a friend to a royal family, getting a license might be easier. And in my neighborhood in Thailand, there's a distillery, a rum distillery just opened by a Belgian craft beer brewer. And then he told me it took him 5 years to get the license.
Really?
So I thought, okay, if I want to bring some culture, my unique culture to abroad, I should get recognition at least first in the home ground. So I changed my mind, and I started planning opening a microbrewery in Korea and in Seoul. And I wanted to do it in Seoul because I still had to differentiate. And in the middle of Gangnam, it was by a big road, big boulevard in an office building.
Yeah.
So people were saying this is crazy, and I was creating some really special combination of flavors, and I still have this plan to open a brewery in Thailand. But then I hopefully would have been more known in Korea, and then it would become a localized branch of Makgeolli. Wow, I still have this plan. And it was lucky because at that time the COVID just broke out. Broke out. And anyway, it would have been impossible during this time to do it in Thailand. So at the end, it's
a good thing. Yeah.
Wow, inspiring story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good choice. Yeah. But we were actually, Emilia, we were discussing exactly about that experience that you had in Belgium, and it was difficult to get maybe hold of Nuruk and so on. And we are actually, how do we get the rice to Europe? Because and I don't know, Jeff, whether it's in US it's easier, but to get the chapsal, that's so difficult.
The chapsal must be almost like in Europe. Well, Italian rice. So this is signature cuvée, so drier, higher, more for the connoisseur. The real
it's
version,
really good.
Real version of.
I've never tasted anything like this. I mean, in Korean Seoul, I've never had
this. That's why I created. But probably Italian rice is similar to
like risotto rice.
Risotto rice, might be similar,
but
And is it possible to get the Thai rice in Europe?
It is.
The Thai sweet rice.
Well, I think we can. We can get them, but it's also a matter of like, as a brewery, what's the identity? What should be the ingredients? Should we make our own noodle? And that's kind of the Nordic twist to it, and still keep the chapsal really authentic to Korean culture. I mean, there's so many things to consider.
Especially in Nordics, right? I just remembered this Swedish urban winery that we just introduced in the broadcasting a couple of weeks ago, and they have this, the Nordic, controlled like. Experimental, let's say, engineered winemaking.
Okay.
So they source all their grapes from southern Europe, or Hungary, and then they brew it their way.
Yeah.
And that's like really fantastic. They are creating things like, all those conventional wineries. They are putting all those chemicals and so on that is like, silently allowed in the winemaking, and then they just discovered there are those type of chemicals that we are allowed to put. Yeah. But nobody is, telling you. And then they just write it in the back. Okay. For example. Yeah. And then they're creating. They are doing lots of experimental. So they do a Pinot Noir, but in different types of winemaking technique. And this is when we were saying, I was tasting this. This is like really, I really want to meet them because they are creating a new genre, and that's also what I am trying to do. And so I tasted this. They're engineered Pinot Noir, but they do natural winemaking.
Yeah.
Okay. But different way, their own way. And that I was looking at it, and I was like, this is something that Nordics can do probably the best with the limited ingredients that they can source. So exactly, are you guys from any Korean origin or?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was born here in Korea, and I was adopted to Denmark.
Okay.
And then we have been back a couple of times since then, but we don't have any contacts as such for potential sourcing.
Exactly. So depending. So how do we put that story into the identity of the product? That's something that, by the way, my husband is also Korean-born, adopted to Belgium.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Fantastic.
Now he lives in Korea because of me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So can I just ask you quickly about the nuruk?
Nuruk, yeah.
Because right now I'm really learning about nuruk. And I was wondering, like, if you can tell us which kind of nuruk and why. Do you make it yourself? Why not? What are the considerations about nuruk? Because it's a wild beast, I think.
Exactly. I don't make nuruk because, I studied in a very even smaller brewery than this. I had no facility, no space, and so on. So I don't make nuruk, but I blend different types of nuruk.
Ooh.
So there are 4 types of nuruk that are semi-industrially produced. That we can buy. We can order the producer. So there's 산성 누룩, 진주 곡자, 송악 곡자, and 백음도가 누룩. So they are semi-industrially produced, and they all have different characters. 산성 누룩 from Busan, for example, very, very nuruki. I would say like very. The grainish, deep nuruk with high acidity. 진주 곡자, it is very almost plain blend, but you feel lots of wheat from the nuruk, and it has a very strong fermentation, let's say, power. So it makes it dry. And then there is 송악 곡자 that has like very complex balance. So the most commonly used, probably the most industrial nuruk. And then there is 백음도가 nuruk that is in smaller batch production, but it has like I would say almost citrus, almost lemony acidity. So when I studied home brewing with serious home brewing, when I was recording and studying all those different techniques and so on. So I started with capturing the characters of different nuruk. And then I started blending. Because I wanted to create a nuruk's influence and impact and the character more complex. So I started blending the nuruk. Now I know if I want to create this type of character from this type of makgeolli, I know more or less, what nuruk I have to put, what I have to blend, and so on. So each product has different nuruk blending. Those two have different nuruk blending. For example. Yeah, same sub-ingredients, same rice, but different nuruk blending and different, I would say, the water amount as well. So that's how I play with nuruk, and I agree with you that like nuruk is a beast, and
exactly.
And the nuruk suppliers, their nuruk's condition also differ from one season to another. So then I have to take them into account. But so I do nuruk blending.
But very interesting that you put so much weight on the nuruk and the blend and for which kind of the type of brew you get out of it. I think that's
because it's difficult getting nuruk to the
we can basically only get the soyulgok nuruk.
Yes,
is the one you can order, and I think we have the I can't remember. It's called Andong Lady. It's like she's yeah. Those are kind of the
this one I don't use.
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with that.
No, but that's
soyulgok. Yeah, soyulgok is the 송악 곡자 that I mentioned. Probably the most common industrial nuruk.
Yes,
that is probably the most stable.
Yeah.
It's the least seasonality. So then,
so interesting.
I was thinking about your bottles. Yes. The design of the bottles, are they easy to transport and distribute to your clients? And
no, they're not.
And but what was your consideration about your?
Well, since I have a small production, so I couldn't order make bottles. If I order make bottles with my own design, I have a minimum, order quantity that I probably may pay because it's stock that I can keep, but I have no space to keep them. Right. Usually we have to print, what was it, 100,000 bottles minimum for one order. Yeah. If I want to make a bottle. Yeah. I have no space for that. No. So I had to select from the existing, already ready-made bottles. Yeah. And then at that time, Sameju, the national heritage Sameju, they were using those bottles. Okay. And then since I studied in Seoul, because Bourgogne has their own bottle, right? Bordeaux has their own bottle. Yeah. Alsace has their bottle, and I was looking into different choices, and there were 2-3 types. So there were this square type that tend to break very easily when they touch together. Yeah. So out, and then there was this the typical 전통주 bottle that is a bit Alsace type. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that was a bit too common, and I needed an argument to go for this one. And then my last conviction was Sameju, the most representative sul of Seoul, is using this bottle. And since I studied in Seoul, so I will follow. Yeah, do that. So I gave myself a justification to choose those. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But you have reasonable good experience with those. They're not breaking too often. You can transport them.
Yeah, they are quite solid. Yeah. It's just very heavy. And then, of course, when I send it by the courier to my clients, then those Express, Hanjin Express, and so on, those companies. When I make a contract, I send it in big boxes, 12 bottles, 15 bottles of heavy boxes, and the glass bottles. And I have to sign. No penalty for the deliverer side, even if it breaks. So I have to each time bubble wrap and then and protect it, making sure that it doesn't move. So sometimes it happens. The delivery accidents happen, and then I cannot blame them, and I have to send the new bottles and so on. Sure.
Are all your clients in Korea?
Yes. Yeah. I get lots of requests to export. No. Yeah. Well, it is not impossible, but then since I have very small volume production, and to fill a refrigerated container. Right. If you have a door-to-door cold chain solution, please let me know. Yeah. And then they started arguing. Okay, the kombucha, it's okay. Why not? Why can't? Do not speak. Yeah. So I'm not exporting for the moment. Mm-hmm. And I believe transporting makgeolli, non-pasteurized makgeolli, shipping it, I don't think it's a good idea. No. No. It's a bit like, when the French don't export non-pasteurized cheese. Yeah. I exactly do. So that's my argument. Each time I get this kind of request, consider my product as non-pasteurized French cheese. Mm. Yeah. It has to be handled carefully and with care. Yeah. And then they tend to agree with me. Yeah. I'm not just refusing your offer to import. No. It's just so that's why I also want to localize. If I do a second production, if I want to export, I will do local production in Southeast Asia. Right. And that's why I think I really appreciate your adventures and all the other people, the Julias, the friends as well, trying to make local makgeolli brewery, and that is how a culture should be spread, and this has to be respected, I think. So it's a tough job, I can tell you.
So what is the general shelf life of your product?
Legally 3 months.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, legally 3 months.
Okay.
And then there are people who keep it for longer. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, especially since it's 12%, that'll keep well in the fridge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just saw somebody posted on Instagram. They opened a 1-year-old bottle and then they enjoyed it and so on and so on. Yeah, okay, fine, but don't. I didn't tell you to keep it for too long. But keeping it for very long.
Okay. Wow. No, that was more than I just expected.
Yeah. The 3 months is the longest by Korean law. I mean that they give so far to a makgeolli, and then I got it.
Is it if you want to create a microbrewery, going from your kitchen to your own private to kind of maybe take the next step?
Yeah.
What kind of investment are you looking into? Do you think if you should invest a little bit in a little bit of machinery? And
well, the most important is the I have the easy to clean equipments.
Yeah.
Because I always tell, even when I go for a lecture and so on, 70%, minimum 70% of brewing is cleaning. And you are cleaning your kitchen, small batches of brewing is already tough. And then cleaning a brewery and the equipments, really 70% of brewing time is cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So what my biggest focus was to find the equipment that is easy to clean.
Yeah.
Like minimum mesh, so that because that's where all the rice gets stuck and then it's the most difficult to clean. So minimum amount of mesh. That's why I don't spread and then lift the rice, and then because each time when you are trying to cool it in a sort of mesh and then that requires a lot of cleaning. So, well, if you want to keep your brewery clean, of course, there are people who don't care about keeping it clean. Yeah? But that's not my style. So easy to manage equipments. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are more expensive, by the way.
Okay.
That's one thing. And one mistake that I always want to fix, but there is never enough, is storage space. Because of lack of storage space, I cannot buy bottles in big volume. I cannot buy boxes in big volume, and that is actually that equals to cost. Because a smaller volume of supply, the more expensive.
Right.
So storage space. But then the most expensive in a business is space, of course. The most expensive part of business is space. So that is a balance that we really need to put. And I started with a limited budget. So, I will be transparent with it. I started with a limited budget of EOP that is like 200,000 euros. I started with this, and I was lucky to have a government grant of 100,000 in the middle. So, after 1.5 years of operating a business. So that was my budget, and I got some extra loan now because of the move and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is more or less the budget that I needed for in Korea. So it might be different.
Probably.
And at the beginning, especially abroad, when people don't know Makgeolli itself. An operating capital of some spare cash might be very important, I think. It was the case for me, even in Korea, but because I'm creating a makgeolli that people never tasted. It's like the most question I used to get at the beginning was, is this makgeolli?
Really?
And I was telling, this is real makgeolli. Because this is really makgeolli that I brewed with the proper fermentation, with the proper rice, with the proper ingredients, and the real nuru.
Yeah.
That is real makgeolli, not the makgeolli that you find in the supermarket that is chemical.
Yeah. Right.
And then they were really So, and then you have to start with what is makgeolli.
Exactly. There's some, as we talked about. I mean, for us, it's also it's about, of course, just brewing is so much fun. The activity of brewing is really great. But, it's also a bigger project of identity and bringing two cultures together. And I think we have a really great opportunity to present it in Europe or in a European context because they don't know makgeolli. So they will not, know the pasteurized, filled with aspartame. But we have a real shot, I think, to kind of present the real authentic makgeolli. Like that. So
people don't know what to expect in the first place. So,
exactly.
So they won't. Is this makgeolli? Because they don't know what it is in the before.
What you let them taste becomes the makgeolli.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's quite exciting, but also a lot of work to speak about makgeolli and teach them about makgeolli. And
Are you getting any was not necessarily support, but like some contacts or with the embassy or culture center?
Maybe that might actually be a really good thing we could try to research into. But we've been doing some tastings at home, back home, and we've also had a lot of interest from some people in the industry who think this is really exciting because of kombucha and everything fermented, and also just Korean culture is trending a lot. I mean, worldwide, but really in Europe, it's gotten big. So, so people are really interested, but need some help with getting there. I mean, how to drink it? How do we drink it? In what? Which kind of food?
And in what glass?
Exactly. All these kinds of things are really
and also
tough.
and the color for Danish would be like. What kind of color is that? Is that?
Why
do you
is
actually
it
drink it?
Is it milk?
Is it milk? Has it gone bad? The separation is a big thing because usually when something separates, for us it means it's gone bad.
Right.
Like so when it separates, they think, is this?
Luckily, the problem you can fix quickly.
Exactly.
Well, when I was brewing abroad, when I was also inviting friends to let them taste makgeolli for the first time, what used to help me understand what is makgeolli is like, I used to tell them it is some sort of like non-filtered, old school ale kind of alcohol made from rice, right?
Right.
So this is probably the nearest match that I could find.
Yeah.
So like really thick, non-filtered, old school ale. Right. It's quite similar, by the way.
That's why it's like we're not going to open a brewery just tomorrow. It's going to be a long journey to figure out how can we educate people about it. For example, in a restaurant setting, maybe we can help them have the experience, or with our own tasting room or something where we can kind of facilitate that experience that we want them to have.
Yeah. Or embassy events.
That might be really
and
really
then
cool thing.
Each year, like a lot of time, because last year there was a case in Belgium, so they had those culture festival that happens all the time in the university, and then they had a Korean culture booth. And then the makgeolli education, the makgeolli school, the makgeolli 학교, they were invited to introduce makgeolli, and then apparently they got some help from the embassy. And,
really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay.
So and for them it is to promote this unique alcohol culture, and makgeolli is something very unique. You don't find that equivalent in any other culture.
Exactly.
Well, there are some in Cambodia or in Japan. They have this thick, non-transparent alcohol, but not as commonly found as makgeolli.
Wow.
How are people reacting to it in the States? Like when you have introduced it?
Well, one of my missions is to get people to know about rustication rice wine in general, and this is something that exists, and you should know more.
Yeah.
Please try some. It's delicious.
Yeah. And then there are some breweries opening quite soon, right, in the States. Right?
Apparently, I mean, of course, as you know, it takes a lot of effort and time.
Yeah.
I know some people that have been thinking about opening a brewery for years and years. There really should be. There are many places in the U.S. I think that could support a Makgeolli brewery just with local Korean population, say in L.A., for example. There should be a brewery in L.A.
There is one, I think new one. Oh. There is one in Hana Brewery.
That's the only one I know.
So I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
There's a recent Makgeolli brewery in Paris.
I've heard about it, but I cannot find it.
I know the guy who helped them set up the brewery.
Really?
I don't think they are active on Instagram, indeed, but I will ask the guy because when he was going to Paris to help the brewery, he couldn't find the noodle during the weekend, and and he stopped at my brewery. He took my noodle. Do you have some spare noodle? Of course, I have a brewery. I have spare noodle. And he was urgently fetching my noodle to Paris and so on. So wow. Yeah, I will ask him. There are two two being prepared in Seattle, right? The guys who visited the expo, and then there is another family who came to my brewery last year, I think. Julia is helping both of them. Mm-hmm. No.
Right.
So if the one in Paris, I will ask.
Then we have to go there.
Yeah, then we go to Paris.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's so valuable for us
Europeans.
We're really
we need
happy
some help
about
too.
it.
I should go. I should visit my. Then gives me a reason to go to my family-in-law.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe the last question I have in my mind, that is the Korean tendencies on Makgeolli. So
yes.
I read that it has been nearly dying out as a drink, and then it's kind of got a new revival.
Yeah, it is reviving.
So what are the tendencies today in the Korean?
Well, the tendency. Well, somehow it is thanks to this privilege that they were giving to traditional alcohol, online sellable. So since the Makgeolli became online sellable, the generation, so the young generation who are very used to the online shopping, they were ordering and buying different types of Makgeolli, and then they started Instagramming Makgeolli. So suddenly Makgeolli, not only Makgeolli but also the soju, became an Instagrammable product that was never the case before. That is something that you buy, like plastic bottle from the supermarket, and you would just drink in the middle of the farm after hard work and so on. But then it became so popular by the young generation, and there were people like us who started as a home brewer and who just wanted to have this craft Makgeolli breweries. So my colleagues, and there were in the last 5 years lots of tons of microbreweries popping up everywhere in the country. Yeah. And then it gives diversity, right? Then to the market, and then it gives some, it makes people want to try all different things, right? And then that's how it is reviving, and also government efforts as well to promote traditional alcohol, and the most accessible, of course, is Makgeolli because it's easiest to brew. And this is going crazy.
And what about the drinking habit? Because we were at the restaurant and we had Makgeolli and we had some great food, and we also know it's going well with the pancake and so on. But do you drink it differently? Do you think?
Yeah. Well,
in other occasions?
I am trying to promote getting out of the box of drinking makgeolli with the paja, with the kimchi and so on. Yeah. Because makgeolli can be paired with like really diversity of food. And then there was this sensation, I would say it was like 10 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. People started pairing Korean food with wine. And at that time it was something new. When I was saying, because I spent lots of time in Europe, I was actually drinking a Bordeaux with Korean, like kalbi, for example. Yeah. And then it was common for me. And then when I came to Korea, people were like, you drink wine with kalbi? And then there was, at that time, lots of people were traveling and coming back to Korea and then getting used to wine drinking culture and started pairing with like not only European food. And then the opposite is happening, I think. Yeah. So like places like Evet, they are pairing Shintoju, traditional alcohol, with like internationally inspired like no nationality food. And that is happening, and I'm also promoting it. In my each video, I suggest pairing with this makgeolli with not only limited to pajang or japchae or whatever. Like for example, yesterday I try this with cashewnut chicken, Cantonese style cashewnut chicken. They still call me crazy, but yeah. But I think it's starting, and there are lots of people who are also open, like the early adopters. The open people are starting it too. Have you been to Namsan Soy Club? Did you guys go there?
No.
Have you heard about it?
Is it Solista? Close to that place?
No. Oh, Solista is another place. That's Seoul Makgeolli Club, where you should go as well.
Yes.
And there's Namsan Soul Club. There's this Dustin Mesa, the American 전통주 sommelier.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good friend of Simba as well.
Oh, I think he told me about
yeah.
And then he used to work in Evet. He used to be in Evet, and he opened his own bar at the entrance of Gyeongnidan, so just next to the metro station of Itaewon, so Luksa. And then this is crazy. I went there. And it really feels like Namkwaifong in Hong Kong. Like people are drinking on the street, like really small bar, packed, and then he's serving through the window from inside to the people just coming, and lots of international population. And he's selling makgeolli white glass with finger food. Yeah. And he's really bringing a new experience of Hanguk sul, the traditional sul, in the middle of Itaewon. And this is crazy. And I really respect him, and he has amazing palate, and he's very talented sommelier. And there, I was like, oh my God, this is... So those type of people, like bringing something that didn't exist as a culture, but with makgeolli is happening. So
we have to go there.
Yeah,
go there.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't been there either, but I did see them on Instagram. For some reason, I'm now following them on Instagram. But I had never been there.
Okay. Oh, that's highly recommended. Yeah. And he's really attracting lots of people in Itaewon just passing by, and this is like so crowded, and people are just all gathered around this window on the street, and it's like people start wondering, what is it? And then they realize, oh, this is makgeolli bar.
Right. Yeah. Makgeolli is something that is really well known to them, but in a completely new context.
So I went to one day because I'm supplying them as well. So I went to have a drink there. Yeah. And then I was having a drink, and then it was like there was no seats. People were all standing. So I gave my seat to another client, and then they were asking, and then everyone is mingling there, and I said, okay, and then, was it Dustin, like one of the sommeliers? They said, yeah, she's the one who was making this. So I went into the bar and I introduced my signature cuvée to the people who don't know about makgeolli. Yeah. And like this thing is happening, and that's something that I used to see in Hong Kong. All packed in the street, and that was I really appreciated that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
So if it is happening, and now that
innovation is happening.
Nam San Soo Club is happening, and the Seoul Makgeolli Club is another thing. Like it's a hotel bar, and then he's transforming a hotel bar into a makgeolli bar.
Yeah.
This is insane. That's something that, I mean, in a hotel bar you would call martini with wine, a single malt, right? That's typical hotel bar setting. And he's now selling also a conventional wine with makgeolli as well, but his dream is to make this makgeolli bar into a like banquet place where people are all dressed up, having a party, all with a glass of makgeolli in their hand.
That's so cool.
But it's going to be it's a long journey.
It's quite ambitious.
We became a very good friend because he's another crazy guy and enthusiastic about makgeolli. So, and then he said, that's his dream.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Wow.
Amazing.
Inspirational.
Yeah. So those things are happening.
Yeah, but that's so inspiring that there are so many new thinkers into a very old traditional drink, right? So that's really good.
Yeah,
and then really if it's spreading, what would happen in Scandinavia? We kind of what kind of tradition are they going? Oh, that's interesting.
Because like Simba, he went to Alchemist and he had them try different. Like he brought some of our brew, your brew, and some sul also from Korea. Did you have that day, or was it only?
No, it was only our brew.
Okay. But so there are so many talented, like sommeliers from Korea and chefs from Korea going all over the world, and who is also getting into these kind of things and introducing. It. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and they really liked it. They thought it was the team at Alchemist. They thought it was really interesting and. Especially the chunj, the yakju. They really love that, and I think it's because it's a little bit familiar to them.
Because of sake and...
and also just like port wine, and also the style of it, like it's clear, it's like golden, it's really elegant, and I think that's really nice for them.
Oh, so exciting. I should... Yes. I want to go to Europe as well. Yeah.
You should.
That should be really, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
This is amazing.
Thank you for spreading. This crazy. Spreading this precious culture to all over all different continents. That's I really appreciate.
That's what you noted. This is a 3-continent meeting, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it's actually really...
This is crazy.
I remember, like, I think 2-3 years ago, when you started thinking about brewing makgeolli, and we were, like, browsing Instagram and so on. I think Sea Makgeolli was the first, like, microbrewery we saw on Instagram.
So
probably because I was one of the first microbrewery in Seoul. That's one thing, and then... Secondly, probably I was now I don't do it. I became too lazy. But there was at that time I was probably the only one posting in English. Probably. I should do it more, but now I'm always so chased by
so many things to do. But it's amazing to be here now.
It was effective, but also visually, of course. You're on Instagram. Visually, many things were appealing.
Yeah, it was
so I noticed it.
So it's so fun being here now. Like
because I think I've been like a secret fan for like over 2 years.
Hopefully, it's also inspiring for me too because to see people with passion, not yet exhausted. From production, but thank you so much, and All right.
Yeah. I'll wrap up the filming here. I'll just say thank you very much, Young-in, for all the conversation, the Makgeolli, the tour, and it was a treat. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. And thanks for your enthusiasm. In all the continents. Thank you so much.
And viewers, thank you for watching.